Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning, good evening to everybody. It is 12:19. Today is September 2nd of the year 2025. The question is the Mexican president afraid of the cartels? 3 months ago, there was an interview by Donald Trump in his plane, or he was going, if it was the presidential plane or a private plane. And he was asked about if he, offered to the Mexican president for the troops to be sent into the part of Mexico. He immediately said, "You're asking me this question, so and so on." And then he said, "Yes, I offered. I offered to send troops into Mexico, but the Mexican president neglected." And ultimately, not only that, but also he added, "I believe that she's afraid of the cartels. She's afraid of them." Is this a reality? Is the Mexican president afraid of the cartels? We, as Mexicans, we know that that is completely incorrect, that she's not afraid of it. We know that we have a corrupt system and we have a corrupt government that is undoubtedly involved with every single of these criminal organizations and that is now getting exposed massively. And that ultimately, at the end of the day, not only getting exposed, but politicians also, they are neglecting and denying their visas so people cannot even understand the reality of these dirty politicians as they have been completely involved with the organized crime. This is a video of Donald Trump basically explaining if the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, is she is involved or is she afraid or did he offered basically to see if they wanted the military to go in there and to fight the cartels. Now, it is against the Constitution of Mexico. Article 129 of the Constitution says that the only one that they can let military intervene in our country, it can be approved by first the Congress of the Union, and then later on, it needs to be approved by the Mexican president. So this is the video. This is what he said. And the most aggravated things about this, it is what he says. Lastly, I think that she's afraid of them. And we can prove that it's not that she's afraid of them. She is extremely compromised at this particular situation. Why she's compromised, it is easy. There's a lot of corruption. There's political figures that they're not even there, and they're more powerful than the president. The president is just there to do a job, and basically her 6 years of her administration, and then she's out. And then we put another one that is in there, and that other one is going to be manipulated by the same system. This is the president of the United States of America talking about it. The Mexican president is afraid of the
Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. They are horrible people that have been killing people left and right. They've made a fortune on selling drugs and destroying our people. We lost 300,000 people last year to fentanyl and drugs. They're bad news. Yeah, that's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it. The cartels are trying to destroy our country. They're evil. And, we had 300,000 people die last year from fentanyl and all of that. We had millions of people brought into this country that shouldn't be here. The cartels brought them in. So if she said that I offered to do that, she's 100% right.
Are you disappointed that she denied that request, but she doesn't want to?
Well, she's so afraid of the cartel she can't walk. So that's the reason. And I think she's a lovely woman. But the president of Mexico is a lovely woman. But she is so afraid of the cartels that she can't even think straight.
She's so afraid of the cartel that she cannot even think straight. Now, let me just add this to the statements that they have been done just recently about El Mayo Zambada. El Mayo Zambada being the drug lord and kingpin of the country of Mexico and ultimately of the whole continent of America. El Mayo Zambada was declared guilty. He declared himself guilty in the part of New York. And at the end of his statements of declaring himself guilty, he said, I have paid high rank members of the military, high rank members of the police, every institution that you can even imagine in Mexico for me to operate freely in the country of Mexico. But more than that, I paid also dirty politicians. Until this moment, when he was asked that, the Mexican president was questioned in her morning conference about this. And this is what she said about it. I will translate for people to understand how compromised the Mexican president is, how corrupt this situation is. And the answer, it is completely stupid. And let me just say it, completely stupid and illegitimate and incompetent. When she was asked about this, and immediately she responded, where is the complaint of El Mayo Zambada to our government that he was paying off these high rank officials, high rank military, and also high rank police officers? It is incredible the opinion of the president of Mexico when she was asked about this. And I will translate what the journalist it is saying.
Al tema de la declaración de culpabilidad de ayer que hizo Ismael Zambada.
To the topic of the statements of the Mayo Zambada as he declared himself guilty in New York.
En una de las partes que se hicieron públicas, él estableció que al menos durante 50 años él había sido parte de la cabeza, de la dirigencia del cártel de Sinaloa.
And one of the statements that they were public, he said that for more than 50 years, he was the leader of this organized crime, the Sinaloa cartel.
Durante ese periodo, 50 años al menos, él, este cártel ha estado pagando a policías, a militares y a políticos para...
And during these 50 years, he said, he has been paying off politicians, police officers, and also, military personnel for him to operate freely on those 50 years.
Poder actuar de manera libre. El Mayo fue detenido, fue trasladado a Estados Unidos el año pasado.
The Mayo has been, translated or moved into the United States of America last year.
Es decir, 50 años atrás ha estado delinquiendo con este esquema que él mismo dio a conocer.
It's by me saying this, it is because El Mayo has been operating for more than 50 years, just since last year, operating with this system that he just said on his statements.
¿Algún comentario acerca de cómo, pues, al menos en declaración, en esta inicial declaración, pues sí se pone ya en una declaración ante una corte que sí ha habido corrupción por parte de autoridades? Él habla de todos los niveles, desde al menos el año pasado hacia atrás, presidente.
Can you give us a statement of the statements that El Mayo just gave that, in 50 years, he has been corruptibly buying all the levels of government. And not only that also he has been paying off high rank officials, police officers, politicians, and military personnel for him to operate freely. The journalist asked, Ms. President, can you tell us what is your opinion about this? And this is her response that is clearly extremely shocking.
¿Algún comentario acerca de esto?
Pues tendría que haber una denuncia, ¿no? O sea, porque puede decir este tema, pero ¿a quién le daba dinero? De acuerdo con lo que planteó.
This is unbelievable. Her response immediately, for people to understand what she responded, it is that, well, this should be a complaint, right? This should be a complaint to who he was giving out the money. Ms. President, you have to be kidding me with this response. Are you telling me, and this is, I go with the before video that I played, that is, Donald Trump said on the statements, I offered to send the military inside to fight the cartels. It's against our constitution, but it can be admissible if the president says so. But she said, no, Donald Trump says, And then the journalist asked Donald Trump in the plane, why do you think she said no? And then Donald Trump says, I think she's afraid of the cartels. It is not that she's afraid. It is that she is compromised. And then you can see on this response, and to all the progressive mercenary leftists, I'm not a white supremacist and I'm not a bootlicker of the white man. I'm just saying the reality of millions of Mexicans that we are seeing right here. She clearly responds when she's asked about El Mayo, about the statements of El Mayo for more than 50 years, paying off dirty politicians, paying off the system of every security, military, police officers, dirty politicians, paying them off for him to operate freely. And the president of Mexico responds, he would have put a complaint. Where is the complaint of El Mayo Zambada? Miss President, you're asking a narco terrorist to go to the authorities and give a statement about who he was paying off. Are we being seriously talking about this topic of the most dangerous man that has led the most biggest cartel organization in the whole continent, possibly, that is El Mayo Zambada, a drug lord in kingpin, and you're asking him to put a complaint to the authorities of Mexico so the authorities of Mexico can actually act? Are we being serious, Ms. President? And these are the kind of statements they make you understand that the government of Mexico, it is not afraid of it. It is part of it. And it's clear and it's obvious. I have said this multiple times. And it is not because, oh my God, this guy is a Trump lover, this guy is a Republican. No, I'm a Mexican citizen, and I'm seeing what I'm saying what I'm seeing. If Kamala Harris would have been the president of the United States of America, we would not be talking about this. We will be talking about massive caravans coming through the south border, a complete destruction in the border between Mexico and the United States, and a massive flow that it will still be continuing because Kamala Harris would have been part of the globalist compact of immigration. And both of these presidents are part of the 2030 agenda. We will be talking about the massive trafficking of children, trafficking of women, trafficking of men. The Darien Gap will be filled right now with children dying, women being raped, and possibly migrants dying in the middle of the Darien Gap, trying to cross and make it to the United States of America. Massive flow of fentanyl will still be arriving with the smoke screen to say we're combating it and we're fighting it, but you're not doing squat about it. If the Trump administration was not here and the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz administration would be here, it will be a complete disaster. And these statements will not even be here. You will not have 55 extradited leaders of cartels or delivered to the authorities of the United States. You will not have the administration of Mexico being blunt and specific and bold about it to say we have been dismantling more than 1,200 laboratories in the mountains and also in the sierras of Culiacan. You will not be saying we have arrested more than 20,000 generators of violence in the country of Mexico. You would not be saying that. But because the Trump administration has pressured you with the 25% tariff and all kinds of pressure, you have done all these kinds of things that it makes you look like you're bowing to every time that the president of the United States of America opened his mouth and said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And the Mexican president says, yes, Mr. President. The only thing that she has not allowed to happen, it is the military of Mexico intervening or entering the country of Mexico. Why? Because it violates Article 129 of the Constitution of Mexico. But every time that you ask a leftist or a fanatic of this political party or a fanatic of Claudia Sheinbaum, every time that you ask them, do you believe that the cartels are terrorists? They say they're generators of violence. They are or criminal organizations. No, that was not the question that I asked you. Do you believe the cartels are terrorist organizations? And they don't want to say it because if they say it, that will give the ability of the military of the United States to have a justification to go in there and basically wipe them out and clean the country. But we're talking about two different things. every time that the military of the United States of America has gone into the country, it has created some kind of instability. And it is pure evidence of that. It is a whole different type of war. It is a different type of situation. What we need is help and collaboration. That is obvious. We have a huge amount of a problem. And by these statements of the Mexican president saying, well, where's the complaint of El Mayo Zambada that he was paying off officials, paying off military personnel, and paying off all this personnel that he was, that he was saying military police officers and corrupt politicians. Where are all these evidence that he's talking about? My God, you're covering it up. You're basically saying he can say whatever he wants. I got my people right here that until he opened his mouth and he said something, I'm going to do something about it. She knows all the corruption in the political, judicial, executive, power, Congress, mayors, governors, that they're involved with the organized crime and the cartel. She's not afraid. This is to the president of the United States of America. She's not afraid. She's part of it. And she cannot say anything about it because it compromises her political party, that it's actually being exposed by dirty politicians, that they already blocked their visas and they already completely neglected them to enter into the United States of America. The governor of Baja California, with her husband, Carlos Torres, denied the visa. The husband of the mayor of Mexicali, city next to Calexico, with the mayor of Mexicali, neglected her visa. The mayor of Nogales, Arizona, in the part of Mexico, neglected her visa, neglected his visa. And other dirty politicians that they have been exposed. They have been completely neglecting their visa. This is pure evidence that they are corrupt politicians, that is the seed of the cancer that we have. And it is extremely difficult to get this cancer out. And the only way to get this cancer is to expose these dirty politicians, eradicate and eliminate this problem from within. That the Mexican military has the capacities and capabilities to go to war against these criminals and eradicate these criminals and eradicate these organizations. But we need the freedom of corruption for the Mexican military to act and do the job. We need that. And the only way that we are going to achieve that, sadly, I'm going to say it, there is another government that is pressuring Mexico to say, I'm going to talk and I'm going to expose all your dirty politicians if you don't get to work. And it is a reality of what is happening. It is not a lie. So it's not that she's afraid of it. It's not that she's afraid of it. It is that all of these people, it is part of it. They are part of it. And this administration, with the past administration and with the 80 years that we have lived also, we're not going to lie about it. El PRI, El PAN, they have been corrupt political parties. But this administration, my God, for God's sake, under the AMLO administration, more than 211,000 murders, making him the most dangerous, violent, and insecure president in history of Mexico. That tells you, just with a simple, actual, factual statistic, it tells you the level of violence and insecurity that we are living under the AMLO administration. There was a point that we had 8 cities on the top 10 for violence and homicides in the world. The first top 8 cities was us. How could that happen with an ideology of abrazos, no balazos, all hugs and no bullets? Of course, ultimately, at the end of the day, this was going to be something that we needed. Pressure from a foreign government for us to do the job. It is not that she's afraid of it. It's that we already know that she's corruptibly involved or she is compromised. This is the Mexican hero. And I believe that she is completely a Mexican hero. I have talked about this in multiple hits in our network and also with other networks, which I had an interview today with a network in the United States, a Latino network in the United States of America, on a radio interview, which I said, Lily Tellez, it is the Mexican hero today. And she is going to be potentially a presidential candidate for Mexico in the next years to come. And she's receiving massive support. Millions of people are supporting her and backing her, not to ask for an intervention of a military, for us to collaborate and eliminate this problem from within, that we need to eliminate this problem. And the corruption, it is so penetrated, and it is a cancer that is so difficult to get out, that we're not going to be able to do it ourselves, because the dirty politicians are going to not enable that to happen. This is her interview in Fox News, that basically, after she has been the only one exposing this reality to the world and exposing the narco government that is in government today, she has been the only one that has had the boldest and the courage to go on camera and to say, you are the narco government, we are fighting you, and we are not stopping this until this ends. The only one. And now she is receiving massive worldwide support of what is actually happening. And because she opened her mouth and said that we needed help from the Trump administration, now in the Mexican government, they are accusing her of treason, and they wanted to remove her from the Senate. As a matter of fact, they're trying to gather all these signatures for her to be removed. It is not going to happen, leftists. It is not going to happen at all. You're not going to accomplish it. Go ahead and cry in your mama's basement. It is not going to happen. The Mexican people have had it with this horrible corruption and this system that is corruptibly abrupted, and it is destroyed by within. This is her interview in Fox News.
The president of Mexico is furious. She's calling Mexican Senator Lily Tellez a traitor for coming on Fox Noticias with me a few days ago and saying this. Listen.
The help from the United States to fight the cartels in Mexico is absolutely welcome, and that is how the majority of Mexicans feel. The only ones who don't like that President Trump is sending help and trying to support Mexicans against the cartels are the narco politicians. That includes President Sheinbaum.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum responding, saying, quote, "It's not a minor issue that a senator gave an interview to a foreign media outlet calling for intervention." Here to discuss is that Mexican Senator Lily Tellez. Senator Tellez, welcome to Fox Noticias. I'm just going to get right to it. Is Mexico a narco state?
Yes, it is. And we all Mexicans know about it. And Mexicans are afraid of the alliance between the Mexican government and the cartels that have infested our nation.
Can you explain this alliance between the president, her party, the Morena party, and the cartels?
Yes, the party has financed, has given, the cartels have given so much money to these politicians, narco politicians of Morena, to get into office, to get the power. So they protect. The Mexican government protects the cartels. That is why President Sheinbaum doesn't want the strong American leadership to help Mexico defeat the cartels. And also Sheinbaum doesn't want the rest of the world to know what is happening here in Mexico. We are on the steps to be the next Venezuela. She is aligned with Venezuela's dictator, with Cuba, and we are losing our country. They have destroyed our Republican institutions, the democratic state, and we must, I think we all Mexicans want and welcome the support of the United States to assist Mexican people against the cartels that have us all in this crisis with the traffic in fentanyl and migrants.
So her response to this, and I know this because her spokesperson came on our show in response to your interview, and they say, well, we just turned over 26 cartel members. We're working, we're sharing intelligence. What are they not doing? And why is she so resistant? She sort of speaks out of two sides of her mouth. We're working with you, Trump, and then she's chastising you for saying we need more help from the United States to crush the cartels.
Because she really doesn't want the help of the United States. She is lying to Mexican people, telling Mexican people that the United States will get in control of the whole country.
Right.
I never listened such nonsense from President Trump. what we have listened is that President Trump wants to help Mexican people against the cartels. Mexican people are suffering. So what they do is very, very little. We have huge narco politicians here in the Senate, in the presidents, governors. Mexico is a very dangerous place.
Well, that brings me to my next question, because you are speaking very bluntly, very clearly about Mexico being a narco state and the alliance and the connections to the president of Mexico. Are you afraid for your life?
Yes, I am afraid. And the president has threatened me to proceed against me with criminal prosecution, to get me out of the Senate and get me in jail, just because I told you in this space and Fox News what is the reality of our country with the cartels. The cartels are dominating everything here in Mexico. They are in all the offices of the government, in the states, in the cities, and in the national government. So, of course, I am afraid, but I want people to know I will not step back. And I pray under God's guidance that we, the United States and Mexico, must work together to defeat the cartels and to get freedom for our country, for Mexico, to stop it from being the next Venezuela.
Senator Lily Tellez, a very brave woman indeed. Thank you so much for coming on our show and speaking the truth.
Thank you.
Every time, I'm not going to lie about it, every time that I hear her speak, I get these, we get emotional, because these kind of people, political figures or human beings, individuals, they're special. They're special species. They were born differently. Lily Tellez is a Mexican hero. And what she wants is what everybody's yelling, is what a normal mother that is taking her child to school without being harassed, without being assaulted, without being robbed, without thinking that her child is going to be kidnapped or, in a way, taken away from her arms. That it is her voice. A mother searcher with collective groups that they're searching for their sons and their daughters that they were kidnapped by the cartel and then later on found in a mass grave. That is her voice. The hundreds of thousands that they have been displaced in the parts of Michoacán, Guerrero, Culiacán, and also in the north borders because of the level of cartel violence. That is her voice speaking. The injustice of the women that they have been kidnapped and killed innocently. That is her voice. Going against every single dirty politician. Being a woman and having the gall and the courage to stand in front of Congress and the Senate with a loudspeaker and going against them and calling them for what they are. It is a proud moment in our country to have a politician like her. And we need to protect her as much as we can to defend her principles and to defend what we are trying to get in the near future. That is peace. Why can we not collaborate? Not asking for an intervention. Collaborate. You, the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, said it yourself that this was a bilateral problem. So why can we not collaborate? Collaborating on you sending these leaders of cartels, it is a collaboration. No, ma'am. That is your obligation. That is your responsibility. That's not collaboration. You showing off to the United States these statistics and stats that you have dismantled more than 1,200 laboratories. That is not collaboration. That is your obligation to the Mexican people. You arresting more than 20,000 generators of violence in the country of Mexico and showing it off in a morning conference in La Mañanera. That is not collaboration. That is your obligation to the Mexican people. You decreasing 50% supposedly of fentanyl arriving to the north borders that connect to the United States of America. That is a triumph. That is a complete disgrace. It's showing how much it was in the past administration and how much the flow of fentanyl was arriving to the north borders. That is not an accomplishment. It shows the deficiency and the inefficiency of your government. How it was blackmailed on the past 6 years of AMLO, and how you needed pressure from a foreign government to do your job. That is not an accomplishment. It was your job to do so. An exposure of dirty politicians. You're telling me that that is unfair when all of the Mexican people know that it's the same authorities that they're extortioning, that they're in cahoots with the cartel, that they're part of this enormous violence and insecurity in our country? For God's sake, the other day, you said on a morning conference that there is a phone number that the Mexican people have the ability to call in case they are being extortion, el cobro de piso by the cartel, or in case they're being extortion by the cartel to pay a monthly fee for your business. And you said on a morning conference why they don't call 089 just to make a complaint. The authorities will attend that. Are we talking about this with all seriousness, or are you just making a mockery out of this and making a joke out of this to the Mexican people? Don't you actually know how the cartel works when they're trying to extortion entrepreneurs, businessmen, and business owners? They don't call you on the phone. They show up to your front door and they say, this is how much you need to pay. And if you don't pay this is going to happen to you next month. So the majority of these businesses have been closing. FEMSA, a gigantic company that owns Oxxos. Oxxos, it is like your average typical 7-Eleven store in the part of Laredo, Tamaulipas, Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, border to Laredo, Texas. FEMSA has declared that they closed more than 200 stores due to the level of extortion and cobro de piso by the cartel. And you're telling me that these people need to call the number 089 to make a complaint about it, and they immediately going to attend that? And you said this on a morning conference. You have to be kidding me. My God, these businessmen are so stupid. They closed 200 stores, making a lot of economy for the Mexican people, providing a lot of economy for the Mexican people. And they fired employees because of the level of extortion. And you're telling me that the solution was in one phone call? You have to be kidding me with this. We cannot be having this anymore. This is a complete blasphemy in front of everybody. How can you have the gall and you can have the face to step in front of a camera and say, well, you should have called 089 and the problem would have been resolved immediately? You got to be kidding me with this. You have to be kidding me with this. And the justifications of these leftists and these fanatics of Claudia Sheinbaum, it is, well, at least we have an option. Before we didn't have an option. Before it was Morena also governing. How many years they need to pass for you to tell me that this is the fault of del PRI, del PAN, de Felipe Calderón, Vicente Fox, and Enrique Peña Nieto, ¿dónde estabas cuando estaba Peña? And all this nonsense of justifications to protect what is actually happening right now. It is not a lie. This is not you're a bootlicker of the white man, an alarmist, a sensationalist. Stop with your name calling. It is not working anymore. It is not working anymore. Your language barrier of defense to protect yourselves from this reality that we are living. It's amazing. I wanted to put an interview, but it needs captions and translation. So I will post that. That interview is on my X account. And actually, it is a collective group, and her name is Paola Sandoval. Paola Sandoval has been looking for her brother for more than 6 years. And I asked her, how do you feel when the Mexican president says, call this number 089 and you can get access to it and they can help you? And she said, it's a complete insult to us. Everything that she's saying, it is a complete insult. It is not a lie. This is, I will play this clip, this small clip of Paola Sandoval in this interview. It is a 750 something, clip. But what I want to do, it's a long interview, 7 minutes, but it's in Spanish. And it is going to be just back and forth, me translating. But I will just say this, I will translate just half of the interview. So it will not be this stopping the video, going back and forth. No, but I want to share this interview with you guys because I think that it's really important for everybody to understand what's the current situation with the missing people, and ultimately, not only that, but with the mass graves. This scenario, on the back, you will see one of the biggest and largest mass graves that has ever been discovered in the country of Mexico, where the pozolero, the butcher, put more than 700 bodies and dissolved more than 700 bodies behind that. She believes also that her brother is possibly there. She doesn't know, but she believes. And all these banners that you see on the back are from those people that they were dissolved by this criminal organization. Where am I going with this? This interview is completely has a different trajectory, but where am I going is the question that I ask her about the new government and the new administration. This is a mother, this is a sister that is actually looking for her brother for more than 6 years. And these are her statements. So I'll leave myself on the screen so I can translate what she's saying and what you guys can understand the lies of this current administration of Mexico and why the American president, Donald Trump, said, I think she's afraid of the cartels, talking about the Mexican president. She's not afraid of it. She knows exactly what is going on. And she knows exactly what's the current situation, the problem in our country. Let me just play the video and pause and play and pause.
Mi nombre es Paula Sandoval y soy la presidenta de la Asociación Familiares Unidos Buscando a Nuestros Desaparecidos.
I'm Paula Sandoval. I am the director of the NGO United Family Members Looking for Our Loved Ones.
¿Cuántos años llevas ya buscando a tu hermano?
How many years you have been looking for your brother?
Voy a cumplir ya 6 años buscando a mi hermano y a todos los demás desaparecidos que pues lamentablemente se han tenido que unir a la causa. Ya en enero cumplo los 6 años.
I've been 6 years looking for my brother and also for other missing people, from other people joining me on this collective group to search their loved ones. Look at the question that I'm about to ask, and you guys are going to understand why this makes me so upset that we have such a corrupt system, such an involvement of the organized crime and the cartels in the level with politicians.
¿Qué sientes tú cuando escuchas las declaraciones de la presidenta en las mañaneras que nos dice marquen el 089 para que cualquier ayuda que podamos tener después de todo lo que sí está pasando en realidad en nuestra ciudad y en nuestro estado? Pero ¿qué sientes tú que tienes tantos años buscando a tu hermano y no es una solución concreta?
How do you feel when the Mexican president goes on the morning conference and she says, well, if you're suffering from extortion or some other crime from the cartel, call 089 and they will give you a solution? How do you feel after all these years that you're looking for your brother and it hasn't given a solution? Listen to her comment and listen to her answer. This is what the people that they have lost their loved ones, what they're going through right here. And these are actual statements without fixing, without editing, without nothing. This is the actual statement of her.
Es una burla. Para nosotros creo que las declaraciones de la actual presidenta es una burla porque
It is a mockery. For us, the statements of the president of Mexico are a mockery. It's just basically she's laughing of us.
Si el tema de los desaparecidos se arreglara o se reparara marcando a las autoridades, no sería como está actualmente.
If the topic of the missing people will be actually regarding and the authorities being involved in it, we will not have the situation like like what we have right now.
Sé que todo México tiene problemas de desaparición, de
I know that the whole country of Mexico has a problem with missing people and kidnappings
secuestro y de trata, pero Baja
and also trafficking.
California actualmente está sumido en la delincuencia.
But Baja California right now, the state of Baja, it is under the control of the organized crime.
Sumido en desaparecidos. Somos
And it is massively being, signalized as a missing people town.
un panteón clandestino.
We are a clandestine cemetery of missing people.
Nuestras autoridades están coludidas.
Our authorities are involved in this.
La mayoría
The
de los
majority of them.
desaparecidos tiene que ver con alguna autoridad.
The majority of the missing people have to do with some authorities in the state of Baja.
La mayoría de los secuestros pueden trabajar porque pagan piso.
The majority of the kidnappings of the cartel, they can operate freely because they pay the government.
Ya te he visto yo trabajar en los colectivos.
You guys understand the level of aggressiveness of these statements. On her hand, on the last part of the interview, I say, what do you have on your hand? And it is a panic button. This panic button, it is for her to carry all the time because she has received multiple threats consistently from the organized crime and the cartel. And she has to carry a panic button that she has to trust the government that immediately, if she pushes that panic button, the National Guard will arrive and protect her. She's 40 years of age, 2 kids, has a beautiful family. The mother was there. The sister was there. Her whole family was there. And this is what she needs to deal with. And like her, there are other collective groups exactly like her, that they feel exactly the same way, that they want to yell to the world and say, this is what is happening in our country. It is so corrupt. It is so corruptibly involved with the organized crime at every level of government. It is paid off. So if you go to the interview that I posted first of Donald Trump being asked in his Air Force One or his private jet, whatever he was going, by a journalist with a microphone. You see the microphone going over there. The journalist is asking, Mr. President, it says that you asked President Sheinbaum that you can participate and help her to help fight off the organized crime and the cartel by sending your military. Is that true? And the president says, yes, that is true. But she neglected, she denied it. I would love to go in there and eliminate it and eradicate the cartels, but they don't want it. Of course, military intervention, it is the last thing that we need. We need our military to act like they need to act, so they can show to the Mexican people, we need and we have a military that it can act and protect the Mexican people. We don't have to rely on another military to protect ourselves. We have our own military. Why our military cannot go and act against the organized crime and the cartel? Why? Because it is corruption. Why? Because there's a politician saying, stop, don't go in there. Protect them first. Let them operate. That is the reason why. So it's not that she is afraid. It is she is a lot to be compromised with. And it is a reality. It is a reality to be compromised with the organized crime. It is the number one thing that has our country like this. It is the reality of our country, how it is being compromised continuously. And it is the reason why a lot of these mother searchers, people that they're searching for their family members, cities that you cannot even live anymore because of the level of violence and insecurity. But in their stats and in their statistics, what are you talking about? We're doing a great job. You're doing a great job that what? The past administration that it was the teacher of chainbound couldn't handle with his ideology of abrazos no balazos, all hugs, no bullets, completely caused an interior war with the cartel operating freely with more than 211,000 murders. But oh, it's culpa de Felipe Calderón. It's the fault of Felipe Calderón. It's the fault of Fox. Where were you when it was Enrique Peña Nieto? The justifications of every stupid idiot fanatic. They know that we have a problem. And it's always the same justifications. Vende patrias, a sellout to the white man. Why? Because you're defending them and you're not defending us. So if I don't defend the corruption, and if I don't say that the organized crime and the cartel should be designated as terrorist organization, I'm a sellout to my own country. My God's sake, where's the psychology and where's the mental illness of that? And it's unbelievable. You know, thank God that we still have people like Lily Tellez, like other politicians, that are actually stepping up and saying enough is enough. We're sick and tired of this. Enough is enough. We are sick and tired of this. And it is not going to continue, and we're not going to allow it. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News and for our platforms, of course. We're going to be traveling soon. We need your undeniable support. God bless you. Buy me a coffee. It is pinned right there on the chat. People want to contribute to our independent reporting and travel fund. It is right there. All goes to travel. We're going to be traveling soon, so we need your undeniable support for protection now. That's the other thing that now we have to think about when we're traveling. We need protection now. It is a reality. That's what we need. We cannot lie about it. You cannot operate freely with these topics without being, you being alone. It is not going to result as well as you want to. It is not going to. Thank you so much for joining in. There's a question right here. They rather work with the cartels than work with the white man. It is not about the white man, Miss Karen. It is about basically working with the United States. It is about collaboration. And we need to understand that this is a bilateral problem. And I have said it so many times before. The United States of America is the #1 consumer of all synthetic drugs. And it has a lot of consumer problem and distribution problem. The United States needs to understand that. But also we need to understand that the level of violence and insecurity in Mexico is much higher than what is happening in the United States. And then you got these bloggers coming into Mexico and saying, oh, the violence in the United States is worse than the one in Mexico. You have to be freaking stupid, really, to say that. Where's your brain? Possibly you're a mummy walking on a planet and you don't even realize that you have a body. If somebody says to you that there's more violence in the United States in terms to the cartel activity than Mexico, you have to be completely incompetent and incoherent, and you possibly do not have a brain. Your body's not functioning correctly. There's no way that you can dialogue with a person that has that mentality. It is a mental illness mentality, and it is a fanatic of a potential, a political party. There is a question right here. Why can these Mexican leaders have some pride and duty to their nation? September 16th. September 16th, it is our Independence Day. Has nothing to do with pride and duty. But we have politicians that are doing it. That's why I just show you Lily Tellez, a Mexican hero. She's actually risking her own life to speak up and to say, this is actually what is happening in our country. This is actually what is happening in our country. The level of corruption, the level of insecurity. A reality. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining in. It is 1:00 West Coast time in the evening. Today, it is September 2nd of the year 2025. Today, not tomorrow, just today. Question right here. Love your work, Oscar. Thank you so much. How do you feel Marco Rubio defending the ex-Colombia president being found guilty? The ex-Colombia has known to be close to the Medellin cartel. I haven't heard and I haven't read about it. I will read about it. I have been caught up on some other topics in Mexico that are going on, and also Marco Rubio arriving to Mexico to have the potential topics of the level of fentanyl, organized crime, and this and that. We know what the Mexican president is going to do. She's going to just completely try to sweep him off his feet, and try to butter him up with this. We have been doing this, we have been doing that. I want you to meet this, I want you to meet that. This is what we have been doing. But what I can say to you is that Marco Rubio has been strong against the regime of Maduro, strong against the regime of Diaz-Canel. He's a Cuban himself. And also he's against the organized crime and the cartels and wants to label every single one of them. It has been labeling every single one of them as a terrorist organization. That is what it needs to be done. I'm sorry, but yes, in terms to Mexico, that's the number one thing. All these organizations need to be called as it is. I see them calling Lily a traitor. Yes, because she wants the problem to be fixed in our country. She's not asking for an intervention. She's asking for collaboration and help. Is that something that it is wrong? I have been saying that. Everybody else has been saying that for many years now. We need help. Is that something wrong? Asking for help when we know that we need help and we know that we have a problem and it needs to be fixed? Asking for a military to come in here in terms to collaboration. Let me rephrase that. Asking for a military to come in here and ultimately intervene, it has to be approved by the Congress of the Union and also by the president itself. So that has to be approved. And if she says no, she says no. But she goes on this rant every time Claudia Sheinbaum touches on this topic to use the color of the white man, and not defending the white man, but it's a strategy of a progressive mercenary liberal from the Marxist left to use we were invaded, they took our land, they took California, they took Arizona, they took New Mexico, they took Texas from us, and now they want to come in here and do this, and that, using the invasion strategy and also the white color, the skin of an individual, to use that strategy to pander that to the youth and to the audience so they can suck on that and say, we prefer to defend the cartels right now. We prefer to handle our problems ourselves. We need help. And we need collaboration with whatever government around that wants to come in here and fix this problem. We need help. It is not a lie about it. It is a reality. Question, how many homicides happened in Tijuana in one weekend? What was the homicide rate during the last Mexican independence holiday? I don't remember. I have to go and research. Mexican independence holiday. You're asking about the 16th of September. I can tell you that the highest homicide rate in history that has happened in one day, it was in Culiacan not too long ago. I think it was the 30th of June or the 31st of June, one of those days. And it was more than 31 people that they were horribly killed. One of the 4 of those 30 plus people that they were horribly killed, they were hanged by a bridge, decapitated, all 4 of them with a narco cartel message. Yeah. Horrible. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining in. Buy me a coffee. It's right there pinned in the chat. Thank you. God bless you. We will regain this topic later on, possibly during the week, to see what we can continue to talk about and how we can continue to progressively continue to talk about these topics. We have an investigation going on, huge investigation, a huge exposure, and a huge topic that we will be releasing in the next, in the next incoming days, weeks. We are going to be releasing a story. It is going to take us a little while to, and it has to be done really delicate because of the level of insecurity that we're living. Last questions. David, how you doing? Your perspectives on this matter are invaluable. What do you think of the possibility of this same acts of violence and use fear groups in America and Canada. They're already in your country. The fact of the matter is that they're not doing it this abruptly, and they're not doing it this horrible. You know, these horrible acts, they're not being done at this high level of impact of violence. But there have been, you know, so much penetration of the cartel and the organized crime and also in the United States and Canada, that this is the reason why you have an enormous distribution problem, an enormous, you know, addiction problem, also conception problem. This is the reason why. Thank you so much for joining in. You know, it has been a pleasure talking to you guys. We're going on 56 minutes going into this live feed. It has been a pleasure. Stay safe. Be sure to be following the page on X and also subscribing to our channel in YouTube. God bless you all. And like we always say, God's plan, it is our mission. Take care of yourself.